Right. Gosh, it's all changing. Divorce laws are changing as of Wednesday. Right? As of Wednesday, the 6th of April, the process for getting a divorce will change. And this is the first time it's changed in about 50 years. So it's a pretty big one. So here's the new change. Basically, it's a new no-fault divorce law. Right? That's pretty major. So what it's basically saying is that couples will no longer have to blame each other to get a divorce. Right? You can just say, look, I'm out here, and that's it. I want to learn more about this. I'm sure you want to hear more about it, particularly for those of you who may have been thinking about divorce. So I've got a divorce lawyer here, Rita Gupta. She's a managing director at Rita Gupta Family Lawyers, and she's going to be telling me all about it. Rita, how are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you. I am intrigued. I need to understand exactly what is going on with this new legislation.
Absolutely. Well, I'll try and break it down for your listeners. So basically, on Wednesday, the divorce laws are going to change. It's the biggest shake-up in divorce laws for almost 50 years, and something that family lawyers have been campaigning for a very long time. Basically, as of Wednesday, it will remove the need to assign any fault to a party when you divorce. So no longer will you need to say that somebody's behaviour has been unreasonable, or they've committed adultery, or you've been separated for a certain number of years. There is a simple statement to say that the marriage is irretrievably broken down. That will be the sole ground for divorce.
Okay. And at the moment, you have to give a substantial reason.
You have to assign fault for about the next day or so, I'd say. The new laws come into force on Wednesday. And the thinking behind this, Adaeze, is that, it sets the tone negatively from the outset when, as parties in divorce proceedings, you assign blame, you give details as to why the relationship broke down, and all it does is inflame the situation. It creates acrimony, particularly in cases where there are children, because you've got to think that you may no longer be husband or wife, but you're going to be parents forever. And things always look worse in black and white. And so, using petitions as a forum to say, well, my spouse did this, my husband did that, my wife did this, is not going to actually help the parties long term. So the reasoning behind these amendments to the divorce laws are just to promote a more pain-free separation.
Yeah. And I can really hear that. But on the other hand, what would you say to people who would say, well, Rita, this is just making divorce so much easier? Surely people should sort of sit down or have a little bit of a barrier before they're able to just say, it's not working, I'm out.
And I absolutely, understand that point of view. But I think there is some sort of misconception that these new divorce laws are quickie online divorces, which they are not. First of all, you can't issue a divorce unless you've actually been married for 12 months. So that part hasn't changed. You can't get married and then, very quickly say that I want to, issue a divorce application. That's not the case. The other aspect is there is a minimum of 6-month period for this process. And built into that is 20 weeks of reflection period. So the parties can work towards a reconciliation if perhaps they weren't sure. Or they can use that time to perhaps reach a financial settlement or make child arrangements. The reasoning behind these changes were not to undermine the sanctity of marriage, and there's not going to be divorce lawyers around the country encouraging people to get divorced. There will be a short-term spike in divorce applications.
Well, I was going to ask you that. What do you think that? Yeah, do you think that there's going to be, a massive increase in divorce? As it just seems like. Yeah, you can do that now without the blame.
I don't think so. There will be a short-term spike because there have been a number of people who've not wanted to assign blame, so they've wanted to have an amicable separation. Sometimes parties fall out of love. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but they respect each other as individuals, as parents. And so for those people, they have been waiting for no-fault divorce, and they, maybe want to use the joint application process that you can now do. So you don't have to have one-party issues. You can do it jointly, and that gives a perceived sort of balance of power. So I don't think there is going to be this huge rise in divorce applications. And I know people are very concerned about that, but that's certainly not what's being promoted here. It is just about making that divorce process less painful for the parties, and particularly when children are involved.
And I'd love to know what your thoughts on this are, but do you think that this is really going to help people who have felt stuck in a toxic relationship?
I think from that aspect, there is I think so. If there is a coercively controlling relationship, because it's very difficult to dispute or defend these applications except for exceptional circumstances and specific criteria, the process can't be used as a means to further control and abuse a party. So that is a positive aspect. Personally, I can see it from many people's perspective that this is going to be a very bitter pill to swallow. What this law is not going to get rid of is the pain of a relationship breakdown, the heartbreak, the frustration, the anger. That isn't all going to disappear. And for many people, it's going to be very difficult that actually the divorce process can go through without them being able to perhaps tell their story, and particularly if they feel wronged. It's going to be a difficult process for them. I do understand that. But that's where the family lawyers have to ensure that this does not become a tick box exercise when they are advising their clients. They need to listen to their clients, and they need to really encourage clients to seek therapy and holistic support or family support, because a breakdown of a relationship is, it completely changes everything for an individual. That aspect is not going to change with a law change. Parties do really need to be getting support and therapy, but the court platform of a divorce petition and that outlet is not going to change essentially the financial settlement at the other side of it, and perhaps more damage would be done by saying certain things. So I see it from both sides, but on balance I would say that this is a really positive change in the law.
How can we find out more about the changes in the divorce law?
Well, there's lots of information online. There's some great websites like the Law Society website, Resolution. There's my own company, Rita Gupta Family Lawyers. And I would say to clients that even though this process may come across as more, slightly more standardised and simpler, and it is designed to be simpler for a litigant in person who hasn't got a lawyer, the terminology has changed, etc. Advice around the financial settlement and any implications on your children, you still need to go to a specialist lawyer. Go to a family lawyer, even if it's for an initial advice session before you issue your proceedings. And, I would still say that you don't rush into such a step just because the process is simpler. It's not supposed to be an online quickie divorce.
I mean, divorce is never easy. Although I think that regardless of the process of getting divorced, I don't think that we could ever describe divorce as easy at all, just for some of the things that you've mentioned around it and the impact of the individuals involved and the family at large. So thank you so much for shedding some light on that, Rita. So that was Rita Gupta, Managing Director at Rita Gupta Family Lawyers, and she was talking to us about the legislation around divorce, which is changing from this Wednesday.